Dmitry Klokov is one of the most sought-after weightlifters in the world when it comes to just watching the biggest lifts. His lifts in competition were enormous, but they were never world record setting. But his lifts in training were beyond the scope of what we've seen from many weightlifters, if not all weightlifters of that body weight. So I figured I would pick the most viewed video of Dmitry Klokov. This one, Dmitry Klokov's best lifts, 1.5 million views. Huge shout out to John Doe for making this one, and just talk about some of these lifts. Let's just get straight into it. 190 kilos here in training. This is just prior to 2012 Olympics. This is 2011 when he was in basically peak shape. And then of course he wasn't actually going to be, well, he wasn't able to compete at the 2012 Olympics because Russia pulled him and Akayev out due to an injury apparently, which freed up the gold medal position for Alexei Turokty. Here's 280. Klokov is one of the few weightlifters that you see really posting heavy deadlifts. And he does weird variations of the deadlift. I mean, he'll do slightly staggered stance. That's due to his shoulder injury. But then he'll also do, with the bar kind of half a foot out in front of him, he'll do totally straight legs where his back is actually hinged totally over. And then he'll just do regular deadlifts as well, snatch grip, all these different variations. This T32 was the most he ever hit in competition. He actually hit 240 kilos at the Russian Championships in 2005, just prior to becoming the world champion. And he did that weighing 110 because he wanted to beat his dad's record of 440 kilos in the total that his dad hit. Just always one of those jerkers that gets the bar incredibly high rather than getting under it particularly well. Kind of the opposite to a Simon Kalecki style lifter. Here we go, here's 270 again. And you can see he does just weird styles, like feet very close together, which is actually how he pulls. Bar quite far away from him, hips high. This one perhaps a more traditional style deadlift with the twist. He did the twist because he was trying to beat his dad Vyacheslav Klokov's record. Gosh, he makes that 225 look nice. He was trying to beat his dad's record, who supposedly competing for the Soviet Union jerked 270 kilos. He did a front squat plus jerk at 270 as a 110, and then a 275 jerk just out the rack. And Klokov always wanted to beat that. So Klokov hit 260. Here he is hitting 245. That looks so easy. He hit 260, went for 265, hurt his shoulder. And that's why when he then started competing again, he twists when he has the bar overhead. Even in a strict press, you'll see him twist. Okay, so these videos are really impressive, but they don't have some of the ones from the Soviet dungeon, the 2010-11 era, when he was doing, he did like a 204 deficit snatch, thick deficit. I wonder, Alex, if we can just put that up here to watch at the same time, because that's one of the most incredible lifts ever. It's 4 kilos over the world record from a deficit that he did. He also did a 195 deficit double, which is ridiculous. Here we are, 225, high hips, not the position that he'd actually pull in for a snatch. And yeah, he does it. I mean, this is just the classic Russian-style system. It's an enormous base. It's lots of variation. It's getting strong in all different ways. I mean, look at him roll the bar away from his shins even. Just making things more difficult. The Soviet idea being the bigger the base, the higher the peak. Very different from the Bulgarian system, where basically there is no level of fitness. It's just the ability to max out many times. As Boda said on the podcast last week, as many as 60 times in a day you will max out. I mean, what is that? Here's a pause. This was way after he was retired. I think that's his wife in the background. But he was still in pretty good shape, clearly. Pausing that 245 for quite a long time. What does that say? Paleo bars? Hilarious. Again, with the heavy pulls, we need to see some crazy snatches and clean and jerks that he did. We want to see the 220 push press, the 225 pause jerk, the 214 block snatch attempt. Okay, 190 cluster. Very impressive. I mean, there's a reason people like him. Like, look at him. Does he not have the GOAT physique? Maybe Liu Xiaojun, I don't know. It's one of the two, that's for sure. And there's 275 partials. Like, the reason weightlifters do so much off blocks is often you find the position where you actually start producing less force. A lot of the time people pull the bar doesn't slow down, but it doesn't gain speed at a certain position. And so if you start pulling the bar from that position, you have to produce more force to overcome the fact that the bar isn't moving. Then when you go back to the normal lift, you're able to produce more force in that position. So he does those snatches, those snatch high pulls, they call them trapeze. I've done those a few times. Similar thing with the 240 there in the clean, just not quite as high, much heavier weight. So he was a lot weaker here. I mean, to go from pausing that for 5 seconds to struggling. This is peak Klokov era. This is when he was very strong. 300 for a filthy little deadlift complex, down to 270, 220, 170. And then he'll probably go to 120 and do some weird Klokov stuff with it. Part of me, this much of me, thought maybe this is an unseen 265 jerk attempt, but it wasn't. 180, he'll have this for a push press. Of course, he has push pressed 220 before. He's strict pressed 180, which is incredible. Incredibly strong shoulders. Here we go. Here's the 250 pause. I love this. Also, just love the outfit. I love it when weightlifters just wear like collars in the gym. I just think that's so epic. Got the sleeves around his ankles, got the wraps around the knees. 125 for a snatch press. Incredibly impressive to do this. I do snatch presses as like a finisher, often supersetted with upright rows, and the burn in the shoulders is insane. But I'm using like 40 kilos, so not quite the 125 from Klokov. 260. This was in his session with Vasily Polovnikov, where they basically just would load the bar, one person would go, the other person load the bar, and there's basically no real rest in between, maybe at most a minute. Let me just watch that again. 260 for 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like a solid 7-second pause and up quick. Yeah, he was in good shape. And you know he's in good shape when all of the other Russian weightlifters are sat there watching. Here's 220, a big training lift for Dmitry. Amazing. Look at this guy watching. He's loving it. Wait, did he just... Was that snatch to... What's going on? Oh, he went wide, middle, clean. I didn't even notice that. I thought he was just re-gripping. They don't teach you that. That definitely doesn't come from any of the Soviet researchers. And then his best ever competition snatch, 196. Wonderful. How much did he do in... Dmitry went to the 2005 Russian Championships to give his goal a second shot. And this goal was to beat his dad's performance from the 80s. This time, weighing 109, Dmitry made 202.5 kilos in the snatch. That's 2.5 kilos over the world record. And 6.5 kilos over this, his best ever competition snatch. On his second clean and jerk attempt, he finally made the 240 that he needed to beat his father's best. He'd hit a huge 442.5 kilo total, weighing 109, giving him a Sinclair of 476.53, above the likes of Ilya Ilyin and Liu Xiaojun. Unfortunately, this is not an official IWF competition, so this total did not count towards anything other than his pride. But this competition that we're watching now, this 196.232, gave him a Sinclair of 467.12, which put him at number 69 in the greatest weightlifters of all time. So that's kind of cool. Let's check out the 196 that he did make in competition. Famously loses to Akayev. That is gutting. That is such a shame. But Akayev was the most freakiest of nature weightlifters. I mean, his 210 snatch at 105 is absurd. His 245 as well. He's one of those rebound jerkers. Incredible. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you want me to do another one of these sorts of things. Happy to react to some of what I would consider to be Klokov's best lifts. These weren't them. I've also done another reaction to Klokov. That's on the Patreon if you want to check that out. But just let me know what you want to see next and I'll post that. Appreciate you guys tuning in and I'll catch you all next time.